My identical twin arrived at my institution. Her body a canvas of purple and yellow bruises, and in that moment, I knew I would have to become her. For 10 years, they've called me unstable. The doctors use kinder terms, like emotionally dysregulated or prone to impulsive reactions. I simply feel things with an intensity that others can't comprehend. My joy is a supernova. My rage is a silent, depthless ocean. When we were 16, a boy from our neighborhood put his hands on my sister, pulling her towards a shadowed passage. I didn't think. I just moved. The sound his arm made against the metal chair leg is a memory etched in bone. They didn't look at him, bleeding on the pavement. They looked at me and they saw a monster. My parents, already struggling, saw a danger they couldn't contain. So they brought me here to Blackwood Asylum. A decade in a room with barred windows. A decade of silence, medication, and the distant cries of other lost souls. But this place, in its darkness, became my sanctuary. It was quiet. I had time. Time to read everything I could get my hands on. Time to train, using the window bars for pull-ups, the cold floor for push-ups, until my body was not just lean, but a coiled spring of hardened muscle. My only sorrow was my sister Elara. She inherited all the softness in the world. The day they took me away, she wept, saying she was the one who should have been locked up. I grabbed her shoulders, the only time I've ever been rough with her. "Live," I commanded her. "You have to be happy for both of us," she promised. A year later, she visited with a man named Marcus. He was tall, handsome in a hollow way, but his eyes were shifting. Restless things that held a secret contempt for everything they saw, including me. "I don't trust him," I whispered to her, my knuckles white. Elara just gave me a sad, broken smile. "With my luck, Nyssa. It's a miracle anyone wants me. The wedding happened without me. Her monthly visits became my calendar. She always brought a little gift, some fruit, a book, and tried to paint a picture of a happy life. But I am her other half." I saw the light fading from her eyes, season by season. She grew thinner. The shadows under her eyes deepened. She wore long sleeves in the height of summer, claiming a newfound sensitivity to the sun. It was a lie, and we both knew it. She was hiding a truth that made my blood simmer. The day she came to me, shattered, I knew the simmer was about to boil over. The click of the lock was a gunshot in the quiet room. When she stepped inside, my heart fractured. This wasn't my sister. This was a ghost wearing her skin. Her clothes were worn, her hair limp, but her eyes were the worst of it. The vibrant light I knew was gone, replaced by two pools of utter despair, and on her cheekbone a faint, purplish mark poorly concealed with cheap makeup. "I fell," she stammered before I could even speak, her voice a fragile leaf in the wind. I didn't answer. I stepped forward and gently touched the discolored skin. She flinched violently. "Elara," I said, my voice dangerously low, "how does one fall and get a bruise only on one cheek?" I took her wrist. She cried out, a small, pained sound that was like gasoline on the fire inside me. I pushed up her sleeve, and I saw it. A map of suffering. Old, yellowing bruises, fresh, dark ones, the unmistakable imprint of fingers, the thin, cruel lines of a belt. I released her. A tremor ran through me, not of fear, but of a rage so pure and cold it felt like clarity. "Marcus," I stated. It wasn't a question. The dam inside her broke. She collapsed to the floor, sobs racking her thin frame. "Nyssa, please, you have to help me. He hits me, his mother, his sister. They're all monsters, and he hit Lyra, my niece. My 3-year-old niece." Those words turned me to stone. I crouched, lifting her. "Stop crying," I said, my voice a rasp. "Tears won't fix this. Tell me everything." And she did. It was a confession that sentenced that entire household to a reckoning they could never see coming. Marcus was a gambler, blowing his meager wages on online betting. The first time he hit her was over a comment about his spending. His mother, a venomous woman named Agnes, was the architect of the daily torment, criticizing every meal, forcing Elara to hand-wash the entire family's laundry. The sister Cora treated her like a servant, and her spoiled son Leo terrorized little Lyra, encouraged by his mother. And Marcus, the coward, looked the other way. The night before, he'd come home drunk after a loss. Lyra was crying, and he'd slapped her across the face. When Elara tried to intervene, he'd dragged her to the bathroom and slammed her head against the sink. His mother and sister had held her down. It was enough. The last vestige of my restraint shattered. I stood and walked to the small metal mirror. I looked at my reflection, then at Elara's. We were identical. The same face, the same hair, the same build. The only difference was that her spirit was broken, and mine had just been forged anew in fury. "Sister," I said, turning, "you didn't come for a visit today. You came for an exchange?" Her eyes widened in terror. "What?" "No, Nyssa, you can't. We are swapping lives," I stated, my voice leaving no room for argument. "You stay here where it's safe." "I will go out there," she pleaded, terrified of what they would do to me. I smiled, a cold, sharp thing. "You're wrong. Precisely because I've been in here for 10 years. I am the only one who can handle them. The animals in here are caged. The animals out there are not. Sometimes. To fight monsters, you have to become one." The plan was simple. We changed clothes. I put on her threadbare, fear-scented blouse. She put on my standard-issue uniform. I took her ID and house keys. When the nurse came to signal the end of the visit, she nodded at me. "Mrs. Vance, have a safe trip." I forced Elara's timid smile and a slight nod. The heavy door slammed behind me. For the first time in a decade, I breathed free air. It tasted of exhaust and possibility. The war had begun. The bus ride was a blur. Their house was tucked in a grimy, forgotten alley, a damp, single-story building that smelled of decay and hopelessness. I let myself in. The interior was a disaster of filth and neglect. And in the darkest corner, I saw Lyra. She was tiny, clutching a headless doll, her dress torn. When she saw me, she didn't run to me. She flinched and shrank back, her eyes wide with terror. My own niece was afraid of her mother's face. The beast inside me roared. Before I could go to her, a voice screeched from the hallway. "Finally decided to crawl back, have you?" Agnes, my mother-in-law, shuffled out. She was a stout woman with cruel small eyes. "Off visiting your lunatic sister again?" Useless, I didn't speak. I just stared, my gaze unwavering. She faltered, unnerved. "What?" "What are you looking at?" Cora emerged then, a larger, sour-faced copy of her mother, with her son Leo hiding behind her. Seeing Lyra, Leo ran over and snatched the doll from her hands, throwing it against the wall. "Stop crying, you baby," he yelled, shoving her to the floor. Agnes and Cora laughed. It was the sound of pure wickedness. My control snapped. As Leo raised his foot to kick Lyra, my hand shot out and caught his ankle. The house fell silent. "Let go," he squealed. "Mom! Grandma!" Cora rushed at me, nails poised to scratch. I caught her wrist, my grip like iron. "Sister-in-law," I said, my voice flat. "You should teach your son manners," I squeezed, and she cried out in pain. Agnes, enraged, grabbed a nearby cane and started beating my back with it. I didn't flinch. I turned, ripped the cane from her hands, and snapped it in two over my knee. The crack echoed in the sudden silence. "Starting today," I announced, "this house operates by new rules." I cooked dinner that night, a foul, salted fish stew, exactly as Agnes had always forced Elara to make. When she complained it was inedible, I calmly reminded her they were her instructions. When she threatened me with the pot, I stood and slammed the table, the force rattling the dishes. "You will eat it," I said, my voice low and deadly. I walked around the table, spooned a lump of the burnt fish, and forced it into her sputtering mouth. Cora tried to intervene, and I backhanded her without a second thought. The sound of the slap was like a firecracker. She hit the wall, stunned. The two women fled to their rooms, locking the doors. That night I fed Lyra proper food from the secret stash Agnes hoarded. The little girl ate, then hugged me, whispering, "You're different today." "Mommy," I held her close. "Mommy has decided to stop being afraid." Later, Marcus returned, drunk and belligerent. He demanded water, then took a swing at me. I caught his fist and twisted, feeling the sickening pop of his wrist dislocating. His eyes bulged in shock and pain. "You're not Elara," he slurred, terrified. I dragged him to the bathroom and showed him what it felt like to have your head held under the dirty water in the sink. He emerged gasping, sobbing, a broken man. The next day, he called the police. When they arrived, I showed them my collection of medical reports and photos. Elara's documented history of broken ribs, a fractured nose, countless bruises. "He has hit me 1,000 times, I told the officers. "I hit him once." "Is that assault?" The police left with a warning for Marcus. Beaten and humiliated, the family plotted. I overheard their whispers. They had realized I wasn't Elara. They decided I was the escaped lunatic sister. Their new plan was to drug me. That evening they staged a reconciliation, offering a special bowl of chicken soup for Lyra. I knew it was laced with sedatives. I pretended to feed it to her, then accidentally spilled the entire bowl. Their faces were a mask of fury and defeat. That night they crept into my room with rope and duct tape, intending to tie me up and return me to the asylum. I was waiting. The moment they lunged, I was a whirlwind. I disarmed Darius, used Trina as a shield, and herded them all into the living room at the center of their own failed ambush. I forced Darius into the bedroom and tied him to the bed. Then I went to the two women and, in a panicked voice, told them Darius had gone mad and tied me up and was now breaking free. I begged for their help. Eager for revenge and believing I was helpless, they grabbed weapons and charged into the dark room, where they mercilessly beat the tied-up figure on the bed. I stood in the doorway, recording everything on my phone. When I turned on the light, they saw it was Marcus they had been brutalizing. I called the police and showed them the video. Agnes and Cora were arrested for felony assault. In the aftermath, with Marcus in the hospital and the women in jail, I laid out my terms: a divorce, $600,000 in child support and compensation, funded by a secret insurance payout Agnes had hidden from everyone. They paid desperate to be rid of me. With the money and the signed papers, I took Lyra and left that house of horrors forever. I returned to Blackwood to retrieve Elara. To my astonishment, I found her in the common room, surrounded by staff, being discharged. In the peace and safety of my cell, she had thrived, passing her psychological evaluations with ease. The doctors declared me cured. We walked out, the three of us, into the sunlight. We rented a clean, bright apartment. We bought new clothes. We started our lives over. The rage that had sustained me was now a quiet ember, a reminder of our strength. We didn't escape madness. We escaped the cage others built for us. If my story means something to you, if you believe no one should live in silence, then show it. Give this video a like and subscribe to Wines of Thought. I'm curious, where in the world are you listening from? Let me know in the comments. Your support means everything. Thank you for sharing your time with me.